Jerry, you said, what is good news for you is not always good news for someone else. Can you talk a little bit more about that in relation to the trust recession you're noticing?
That's an interesting parallel. So, I mean, obviously in the story here, you've got this earthquake that frees Paul from prison. Like, good news, he gets to go free. And this jailer's like, I mean, if those prisoners go free, I'm going to get executed. And nothing's ever probably going to be that dramatic in our lives. But I do think there are times where we get so caught up in the moment and the celebration of what's happening to us that it can drown out our ability to see who's around us. And I'll give you an example here from my life. I talked about my daughter tonight already. She's wonderful. Both my kids are. And they're both adopted, and we love them. But I remember around the time that my wife and I were going through the adoption process and figuring that out in our mid-30s, all of our friends were like cranking out babies left and right. And it was really beautiful, and we were really excited, and we were really happy for them. But we were also kind of like, I don't really like that guy anymore. So there's this thing, right? And people were very kind to us about bringing their celebration to us, but also making space for us to talk about, our experiences that. Because a lot of our close friends knew we were struggling with infertility and pregnancy and adoption and all those kinds of things. And there was a real grace in people bringing to us the joy of what was happening, but also leaving a bit of space for us to share that back. And I think when you do that for each other, especially with close friends, that is in some ways the antidote to this trust recession. Because you're not pretending that you're not joyful. You're not pretending that a good thing didn't happen to you. But you're just leaving a little bit of space for somebody's story to be present in that. And I think that builds trust. And I think when I saw that from my friends, it made me trust them even more, and it made me want to celebrate with them even more. And it helped me overcome that sort of instinctual angst that I had that was their story and not mine. So that kind of kindness, that kind of generosity, if we can show it to our close friends, and then maybe if we can extend it beyond that, I think that helps to rebuild just an overall level of willingness to try with each other. And that's what I really mean by that trust recession. I don't know, you want to add to that?
I know. Even the best community hurts sometimes. I think it's not that it's clumsy, it's awkward, something going great for someone else isn't going great for me. The answer is not to isolate ourselves. Isolation is our death. So turning toward one another in all of our imperfections, in our beautiful own trajectories of glory and agony, even the best of it, even the best version of it, hurts sometimes. And I think there's something about rebuilding trust in that idea. Like I am not so I'm not lacking so much that it wouldn't hurt me. No, that is a part of my full humanity, to turn towards the people I have committed myself, my energy, my love to, and to allow some of the things about those relationships to affect me, and to know, like, I can figure that out, or I can draw closer, or that's a rupture in a relationship and we can work on that, or time will do something to that. But that's all I have to say about that.
No, it's beautiful. And I mean, these are skills, right? Because, again, back to my example, if we had friends, they got pregnant, we're having a baby, and they didn't tell us because they're afraid of how, that would have hurt too, right? So it's not that. It's not holding back. It's just leaving that space and a little bit of kindness and a little slowness with each other sometimes. I think that goes a long way.
I was just thinking about what you said with finding joy in sadness, as opposed to finding joy in spite of sadness. And thinking about your example of how this beautiful moment with your daughter was a result of the sad thing you're experiencing. I've found that a lot of those things happen in grief, where you find really beautiful, joyful moments that are a part of that grief process. And I was wondering if you, had more to say about like how to see the beauty in the sad things.
I mean, the best thing I have tonight is that language of gift and that language of grace, that you just have to be able to name those things when they come along. That moment, as awkward as it was with my daughter and as funny as it was in a certain way, I just knew that was a gift, because it was a deep expression of in her very limited ability in this moment, that she cared about me and she wanted to see how I was doing. And I think if we can go into our grief and go through those diff times looking to say, what is coming to me that I can welcome in and I can embrace and I can treat that as a gift? I think that's the best that you can do sometimes. I don't think you can manufacture it. That's what I kind of said tonight. You can't engineer it. You're not going to be able to conjure that up. But there are moments that are going to come along, and sometimes the best that we can do is name them and grab a hold of them, put them in our pocket and take them with us. And if we could put a little bit of thought into that and a little bit of awareness around that to lift our head up a bit, then I think we would see those things around us. But I don't want that to come off as like, if you don't, then you're the problem. I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to say, yeah, lift your head a bit, see what's around, widen your view, and see that there's more happening around you than you may have thought in that moment. So, yeah.
I was thinking earlier around this idea of joy being discovered, not made. But I don't know that I totally buy that either. Like, I like the idea in terms of like just how wily and persistent joy is. I often go to this moment in my grandmother's funeral when I was in my 20s, I guess, and the priest named the Pope, but he named the wrong Pope. He named the Pope that had just died, and my aunt was bawling, and then my other aunt and I were just like shaking the whole pew. Like it was this moment that like both things sat there equally side by side. And I think joy being something discovered, not made, but also it is deeply made in our relationships. Like there was safety in us to be able to laugh while another cried, and no one like beat each other up after. There was room for both of those emotions. We all love each other, And I think that there's this extravagance to the ways that the Spirit is, let's say, doled out, and joy can be everywhere, and sometimes it can feel like it's nowhere, but to persist through all circumstances, knowing, no, like, they will sit side by side sometimes, they will be equal companions to this thing called life, and it is absolutely discovered, but I do think we kind of make it together.